How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about first-time home buyer expectations. How are we coaching the first-time home buyers that are entering this market, about to enter this market, or just in the thick of the 2022 market as we are into the May month? So first-time home buyer expectations. We're also going to be talking about an article from Realtor.com about the one type of house, Shawn, that home buyers do not want. So think about what type of house, even in this market, home buyers are like, nah, fam, I don't want that house. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with a little TikTok video about a house in Austin that was so fed up with property taxes that they decided to move. Not only are they moving, but they're bringing the house with them. I don't even know if that's allowed, but they're doing it. So let's start today. There was a thread on Reddit, because of course there was a thread on Reddit on the R real estate subreddit that was talking about first-time home buyers, and it got me thinking, like, how are we coaching our first-time home buyers through, giving free rent backs, through juggling multiple offers, through waiving all contingencies, through interest rates that are now rising. I think they're at 5.27 as of today. They could be fluctuating even higher as the Fed, I think, just announced that they're going to raise rates even more later in the year. And that's a lot to take in as a first-time home buyer. And, I was just in a multiple offer scenario where things got bid up and bid up and bid up, and then the winner was like so happy, and then they woke up the next day and they were like, actually, this was a huge mistake, we're going to back out. And then the selling agent went back to us, and then there was like a brand new bidding war that had occurred. So Shawn, with the first time home buyers that you're working with, what sorts of conversations are you having to walk them through this market?
I mean, there's just so many. And like you said, first you've got to get through your contingencies and everything. But I think the main thing is, listen, don't panic, right? I mean, the real estate market ebbs and flows all the time. And right now we're seeing rising interest rates. But yes, this does push your payments higher. But historically, when I bought my first place, it was 6.25%, right? And there are other financing options out there. So don't go crazy. Don't worry that, oh my gosh, these interest rates are going up. I got to get in, because that's not why you should be buying. You shouldn't panic buy. Buy the right house for the right reasons. Now, this market is nothing like we've seen before. So having them waive all of these contingencies is a very tough prospect for first-time home buyers. And so naturally they're going to get cold feet. They're going to double think about it. And they've always got family behind them, usually, where they're getting opinions of other people that have never gone through this situation, right? So it's really a tough road for first-time homebuyers. They're getting ideas and recommendations from us as agents to say, hey, you need to do this, 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 and this to win. And then probably from their family, they're like, make sure you don't do this, 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 and this, right? So juggling that is really tough. And then you've got pressure from get prices going up, and then you've got pressure from interest rates going up. So, man, it's tough. And I know when I bought my first place, I felt angst, man. I was like, I got to get in, or else I'm never going to be able to afford it. And I know there's a lot of people thinking that. From experience, I would just say, chill out, relax a little bit,
So I think those are all good tips. One of the first comments, the most upvoted comment on the thread, had a suggestion that I don't think many people want to hear, and that was to downgrade your expectations on a property. So maybe start looking in zip codes that you weren't considering before, or maybe look in the next neighborhood over, or look at a property that needs some work as opposed to a shiny new move-in ready property. And I had some clients that I just am working with now that just purchased a house. We had been looking at homes around like the 640 to 660 mark, and we were just going up against 5 or 10. Sometimes it was like 2 offers, but then one time it was like 10 or 18 offers, and they were all going into the 7s, and they were getting stretched thin. And then all of a sudden, property came up for $425. I think it was a little underpriced, but $425. they were like, yeah, we want this one, and then we'll just bid it up, and then we'll have all this delta, all this money left over that will just make it, what we want. Because it was unrenovated, the kitchen was old, bathrooms needed help, yada, yada, yada. But now, they bought it for $500,000 as opposed to, basically $685, and now they can undergo the renovations and make it exactly what they want.
That's a great point. What first-time home buyers usually don't want to do is put some sweat equity in. They don't want, and especially the younger buyers now, they want everything done for them. They don't want to have to do this. But I'm telling you, by experience and just by doing this and flipping properties in the past, the money is in finding that one that looks like crap, because most people don't want to buy it. So you can get in there, and a coat of paint in a home in a big home, you're talking $4,000. Like, if it's a smaller house, $2,000, right? It totally transforms things. There are things that you can do to properties that are affordable when you're renovating them, other than like ripping out a bathroom. That's an expensive thing. Or if you are renovating a kitchen, very expensive thing to do. But there are things that you can do to those properties that are affordable. Like, instead of ripping out all right, so my Lake Barcroft home, right, that I had, those tiles in there are from 1960s. You know the ones. They're blue, they're green, they're weird checkered, white and black. It's just a thick tile. And what I did was I ripped the whole bathroom out, and that cost me a lot of money. But what I've learned over the years is that you don't have to do that. You can actually reglaze them. And reglazing is just like painting almost, right? And it's going to get a nice new finish all over those tiles and the tub. You can do different colors. And it's like a few $100, maybe $1,000. And it totally transforms things. Then you go to Home Depot, you get you don't have to have top of the line stuff. Go get a nice vanity or something from Home Depot or Lowe's and put it in. A few $100 more, These are the types of things that you learn that you can do affordably, and you can almost do yourself. There's definitely contractors out there that'll do it affordably, and then there's your contractors that are going to charge a ton of money. So go for the ones that aren't going crazy on your prices. Think about the ugly properties that you can make your own, right? That's where the money is.
And speaking of ugly properties, another person on the thread said, find a house with potential and, find a neighborhood with potential. And Shawn, I was driving by, my new listing coming on in Penrose next week. And, I parked in front of a house that, was, I think, abandoned or vacant. There's, ivy growing on the side of it. And then, a couple houses down, there's like 6 cars parked in the parking lot. Across the street, new construction houses going for 1.6. But, I'm thinking for the open house, like, man, someone's going to have to park in front of these dilapidated houses. And then I'm going to have that conversation of like, oh, how's this neighborhood? And then it got me thinking, well, wait a second. This is the exact neighborhood that you want to buy in if you're a first-time home buyer looking for an affordable house. Because if you're seeing that the house across the street is a brand new construction and then the one right next door is like an abandoned vacant property, what do you think is going to happen to your property values in the next 5 years when that house gets torn down and rebuilt?
Exactly. I mean, all right, think about U Street Corridor 8 years ago. Think about the Southwest Waterfront in D.C. 5 years ago, right? It has completely transformed. 5 years, 6 years ago, you could have bought a property for way less. Now they're so expensive, right? So another great point, go for the areas that are really cheap right now because they will turn over, especially in big cities like we're in the DC market, Arlington market. If you can find those little pockets that are still, like, look at the values. Oh my gosh, they're so cheap. Why are they cheap? Well, maybe they just haven't transitioned yet. There's a lot of dilapidated properties, but this is your chance to own something and get it before it explodes, because as we've seen in DC, they explode. They're going to, at some point, they're going to change, right? And so if you can find those investment opportunities now, so you're looking for little pockets in the big cities. And what I was reading is Barbara Corcoran was saying the cities that will be booming the most are the small cities, right? It's no longer like the LAs, the DCs, those big cities that are going to be booming in real estate. All the little cities will be catching up a little bit. So those are the places to invest in right now. Just thought. So
completely agree.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our second topic. This comes to us from Realtor.com. Title of the article is Unsellable Houses, a TV show, reveals one type of home buyer, of home buyers avoid even today. When I first read the article and I stuttered over it, I thought it was they reveal one type of home buyer to avoid. And I was like, all right, what type of home buyer are we
As
avoiding?
a listing agent,
like I can't wait to read this one. But they reveal one type of home buyers avoid.
Okay.
So they're avoiding this type of home. Now, when I introduced the clip to start, have you read the article? Did I show you the article?
No.
So what is? So I think you had a guess. I think you know what I'm going to say.
No, I don't. I was going to say a mobile home, right? Like,
okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's
maybe I'm wrong.
That's not it. By the way, I've never seen Unsellable Houses, but like any of these shows, I would just love to watch. Like I would just watch it. But I don't have things to watch it on. Like I don't have, like I have YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I had someone over and they're like, "What do you mean? Like you don't have
Matt
cable?
Do you have
what do you mean you don't have
connection?
Netflix?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I got YouTube."
No wonder you get so much done.
I got it.
I
got it. I got YouTube. I got it all. But apparently, it's a good show. In season 3, they're talking about, so that they're on season 3, which is good sign. So, twin sisters Leslie Davis, Lindsay Lamb. This house definitely has that rental vibe. You can tell the difference between an owner-occupied home and a rental. Nobody's going to walk in and pay top dollar for a home that feels like a rental, Shawn.
1,000%. Now that is
the one type of property. It's the rental property.
Yeah, and I said I think I made a video about this before, like one thing not to do is sell your house tenant occupied. And Miguel and I are going on a listing appointment next week.
Oh, nice. Where's that at?
Family home in Arlington. We'll talk about it.
Okay. We can't talk about it now?
Well, yeah. I mean, but basically it's a rental. Right?
Okay.
It's tenant occupied. And so the owner was like, hey, should we sell this tenant occupied? And I'm like,
absolutely not. No.
No,
Don't
man.
do
I
it.
mean, because it feels like a rental. It looks like a rental. And usually renters do not occupy the home like somebody that owns it, right? There's a difference in how they keep it. Not every renter. But for the most part, they're not going to be caring. They're just moving their stuff in. They're there for a year. They don't really care.
What about like a vacant? Let's say they've moved out. So like in this scenario, it looks like they walked into an empty house and they were like, "Oh, this feels like a rental." What do they mean by that?
Well, you can tell because basically they paint everything one color. Not only the trim, the walls, everything is going to be one color, and it's going to be beat up, right? Their carpets.
Well, the fact that they did paint it is surprising.
Well, it could be old paint, right?
Yeah.
You're going to know that it's old paint. It's not cared for. It's the carpet's dirty. But you know what? This is the kind of property that I go after, and that we're saying maybe you should go after. People don't want to go after it because it needs work, but this is what we're saying is paint and carpet, and then making it your own transforms that property, right?
Have you seen that video where it's like, I gave this the landlord special, and they just take white paint and they just slowly paint like random parts of the apartment? Yeah. They call it the landlord special.
Yeah.
So on this specific episode, Lamb and Davis decided to invest $50,000 and spend 4 weeks fixing it up. And they go through some before and after pictures. And Shawn, you've said it before. The money is in the renovation, and they originally thought the house could sell for $400,000. They put $50,000 into it, and they put it on the market for $520,000.
Wow!
So $400,000 up to $450,000 that they're in it for, on the market for $520,000, and they got a full price offer. So, like a coat of paint. I'm a big fan of like cover plates, like those bright white cover plates. Off white paint, bright white, great look.
Yep, little details matter, and light bulb colors. We always go over that. Like that's another thing that they'll show in a rental property. It'll be one crazy colored light, then a really bright light, then a normal light, and dark and dingy, and the fixtures are crappy. That's a rental property. But man, I love them.
Even if you have a budget of like $4,000, like you can do a lot with that budget. You can stretch that, go pretty far.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to our final topic. This comes to us from TikTok via the Daily Dot. Basically, a house in Austin allegedly is moving because they're sick and tired of the property taxes, and the neighbor is filming the house being taken out on one of those trucks, wide load. Sometimes you see them on insert interstate, 81 or 95, and I think they're sick and tired of the property taxes. I haven't done my due diligence to see if they're just like moving or if it's just like, oh, this would be a good bit to do about property taxes. Because I was thinking people were moving to Texas to save on property taxes, but Austin specifically, looks like property taxes might be 3% with valuations changing every year, but that's what a TikTok commenter wrote, and I wouldn't take a TikTok commenter as truth. But what are your thoughts on? Let's just say that this is a true story. You have a house in a jurisdiction, and you're fed up with the taxes. I mean, the taxes in Arlington, I'd say they're fairly high. You do get a lot. You get a lot of services. They are high. But what if someone was just like, you know what, this isn't for me. Like, I want to take what if we just put a little, like a piece of wood, like under your house, lifted it up, put it on an 18-wheeler, and moved it to Pittsburgh? Like, is that even an option? Like, what does that even entail? I
mean, you can do it. They were actually doing that to a property down in Old Town recently where they picked it up and they moved it. And I don't know what the cost of that is, but I think this is probably a joke or a bit. But, I mean, because if you think about it in reality, they're still going to own the land, right? So they own the land. They're taxed on the land. Granted, they're taxed at a lower value, but they're going to have to get reassessed on that land after they move the house, right? Because their property value is not going to change until they go to the county and say, "Hey, we moved our house out of here. The land's still there. You need to lower that tax assessment."
It seems so silly to just move a house, but then I'm thinking like, all right, well, if you move it like an hour away, maybe you have a plot of land, and then maybe you put it on septic and a well, and then you don't have to like construct a new property. So
it's a cool idea,
Could be that.
But here's the thing: it's true about property taxes, right? 3%. is 3 times higher than it is here at 3% of the value. Yeah, no, I'm talking out of form. Ours is $1.3 per thousand.
Yeah.
So percentage wise, what would that be? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
All right, I'll do that math later. But my point is, with the rising prices and the rising assessments of Arlington, let's just take Arlington as a thing, as an example. They have gone up so much, right? So the revenue from this has increased so much, right? And so Arlington County is getting so much more revenue based on just your rising assessment. And they have gone up 100, 200, depending on the size of the house. They have gone up a lot. But on top of that, this year, they've also raised the rate by, say, 2 cents per thousand, okay? That might be $100 to $200 per household per year. But why? Why do they need this money? I know Arlington's a great county, right? It's an amazing place to live. I love living here. They do have a ton of parks. They have a lot going on. But where in the budget has it gone wrong where we have such high values and you're still increasing the rate? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's a lot of money, right?
I hear you.
So how does that happen? I'd love to see the budget, and honestly, I've never looked at the budget and I've never really analyzed it because I don't have time to look at that stuff. But how has it changed so much in the last 2 years or 3 years, right? That we've seen 25% increase in values that you still need to increase the rate. Question for you. Can anybody answer me in Arlington why that is done? And do we have a budget surplus here? Like, we should be operating on a budget surplus, I would think. But anyways.
Yeah. I think all those are fair points. Arlington does do a good job of, making everything transparent, and the budget's out there if you want to, have your eyes, whatever. If you can look at the budget.
Shame on me for not looking at it.
So the budget's there. Like, if you have the time, you can look at the budget. You can go to the county board minutes or meetings. Yeah. You can literally ask the county board questions. I mean, They may give you a straight answer. They may give you a roundabout answer. It's there. But if you don't have time for that, why don't you go check out the new Arlington Aquatic Center with your 2 kids?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe you'll start to figure out where your tax dollars are being spent.
Tell me more about it.
It's a beautiful aquatic
Where's it
center.
Located?
You take the bridge over to DC, and it's like the last exit before the bridge. It's in like Pentagon City, but you you take like Boundary Channel, or you take like a weird road to get there.
Oh, that big park down there. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Big park.
Well,
it's at the
trail.
Yeah, it's at the end of the park. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Exactly.
You know what? I don't go down there enough. I need to go down there.
That's a good reason to go there.
Yeah, it's and they've got the fields, the walking path,
right off of Crystal Gateway, right there. There's a really, really nice walking path.
Yep.
You walk down there. There's soccer fields that are always packed, like Arlington Parks, which, by the way, were just ranked in the top 3 parks system in the United States. And these websites always rank Arlington as the top, and it's weird that I'm saying, oh well, it always happens, because we're taking it for granted, but there are great amenities. But going back to the taxes, they are high on residential. What I would like to see is Arlington hooking up the commercial tenants, because some of these commercial buildings have been vacant for like a really long time. And I think with, the pandemic basically over now, I think everyone can agree that, people are going back to work and whatnot, that it's a little difficult for employers to get employees back to the office. And so there's still a lot of vacant real estate commercial wise. And I think I just saw an article that Boeing is actually moving its headquarters to Arlington, which is another, incredible company to have their HQ like in Arlington.
Wow.
In addition to Amazon, in addition to Nestle in Roslyn, in addition to the Microsoft sales team in Roslyn, in addition to, Raytheon has a large presence here. So Arlington is a very desirable place for businesses, and I think we should do everything we can to keep it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to bring up an example of a slightly out of Arlington into Falls Church, but this business is closing and it's driving me crazy. And
oh,
do
no.
You know what it is?
Wait. Business closing, Falls Church.
Think Shawn Battle.
Oh, is it? I hope it's not State Theater.
No, it's Dogfish.
Oh, I did see that.
So Dogfish Head is leaving. I love Dogfish Head or whatever, and it's really good food, but rents have increased, and basically they've increased rents so much that they said we can't do it anymore. And I'm like, but they're always busy, and we've just gone through a pandemic, and I get it, but like, man, you got to raise rates that much or raise rents that much that you're pushing a great tenant out. Who's going to refill that void, right? Because they are one of the better places around here that'll pull in business. I just don't know what's going to replace it that would be able to pay higher than Dogfish does, right? Anyways, that's the problem with everything that's going on in our climate right now, raising everything. It's causing businesses to have to close the doors. Sucks.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I'm not an expert in this, and I think I read somewhere that part of the residential Arlington taxes pay for like the commercial, like that covers the commercial property taxes or something like that.
Some sort of benefit to them to keep them here and keep them working so that we can patronize them. Yeah.
But I think, with all the talk of rising residential real estate, we need to remember that, commercial real estate, there's a lot of empty buildings out there, and that could be a problem in the future. So Arlington has been very business friendly, and I think unfortunately the top 2 leaders of the Arlington business economic development program, the team that helps to get Amazon HQ2 to like pick Arlington or whatever. I think the top 1 and 2 people are actually leaving. So, anything that we can do to attract businesses, because of course we want to attract residents, but we also want to attract businesses and make it as business friendly as possible for employers.
Absolutely. One quick example. You remember Willow?
Yeah.
Remember that place, Willow?
Yeah.
That's been empty there. That spot's been empty there
in Ballston.
Yeah. Is it still empty? It's still empty.
I don't know what's there. I couldn't tell you.
It's been three years of
couldn't
empty.
tell you.
It's crazy. So like think about, before you kick your tenants out, how long it could be vacant. I'm talking commercially right now.
I'd really like to get coffee or lunch with like a landlord who like is the landlord of Willow, because they're probably like really smart. They probably like know what they're doing, but then you walk by it and you see a vacant retail spot for 3 years plus empty, and you're like, all right, it's like, are you losing money hand over fist right now? Like, why not just get someone in there at a lower rent?
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
I don't know. Not an expert.
That's where the real estate investment trusts come in, right? They probably own so many, and it really doesn't matter. But
right. All right, guys. Well, that'll just about do it for another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. If you learned anything, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps out the YouTube algorithm, gets more people watching, more people viewing the content. And for Shawn and myself, until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.